Is your goal to have to work to pay your bills? Or is your goal to have money work for you and create a lifestyle that's less stress or less worry or with more time freedom? Are you setting the goals that society is telling you to set? Or are you setting goals that work for you? For some people, renting a home and using that money that they would have used for a down payment to generate hands-off income. I'm biased because I do real estate, but you could do dividends, you could do coupons from bonds, private lending, residuals. There's a lot that can be done to generate hands-off income, maybe not initially replace your income from your W-2, but mitigate and have income coming in if, God forbid, you get laid off from your job. Please take a moment and reflect on what really serves you rather than what people tell you.
Welcome to the Secrets to Abundant Living podcast. Your guide on this journey is Amy Sylvis. If you're ready for the secrets to an abundant life, hit that subscribe button now, and let's get started.
Secrets to Abundant Living podcast community. Hello, and welcome back to a solo episode of the podcast. My name is Amy Sylvis. For those who don't know me, I am your host. I'm also the founder and principal of Sylvis Capital, where we connect capital with great real estate investment opportunities that are hands-off to generate hands-off income. Wow, 2024 has gone by quickly, hasn't it? This is our final episode of the year, and I'm excited to join you all with a really empowering and timely topic, I would argue, given that we are at the end of the year, the end of the calendar year. Many of us are reflecting and planning for the new year. So you may notice I didn't have time to paint my face today, which is a very risky thing for a 43-year-old middle-aged lady to go no makeup. But hey, it's a busy season. We don't always have time for makeup and painting our face. So here we are. Thank goodness for some Zoom filters, right? Funny enough, that really dovetails into today's topic, which is this concept of the gap and the gain. And if you haven't read the book by the authors, Dan Sullivan and Dr. Benjamin Hardy, you're really missing out. And I want to give you just a quick summary. This isn't going to be a long episode today, but I do know that many of us, myself included, are really thinking about goals. And I gave you all some frameworks on the solo episode a couple episodes ago, but we're thinking about goals for 2025. And since we're at the end of the year, and I really want to encourage you all to reflect, as I'm doing, on not just where you want to go, but how far you've come. If you're anything like me, I'm always looking for the next thing. What else do I want to do? How else do I want to contribute? What else do I want to achieve? Which is fantastic, right? There's nothing wrong with that. But gosh, this book, along with, really smart people I have in my life, really dives into the value of understanding how far we've come. And I think this is really the perfect time of the year to go over that. So the framework, if you haven't read the book, and even if you have, I think all of us need to hear things on repeat. But the framework really is taking time to reflect, not on what we haven't achieved or what we haven't done yet, but really understanding how far we've come. If we're constantly striving, and that's a big part of American culture, and I'm not going to put that down, but in order to not burn out, in order to not lose momentum, and in order to keep our mind where it really needs to be, avoid frustration, a sense of inadequacy, which, we get all over from all over inputs from all over. It's really important to reflect how far we've come. So I know myself, I'll give you a couple of examples just, in full transparency, because I don't think it's really interesting to pretend that I'm any different than anybody else. I've got 3 areas of my life that I care deeply about, and I'm always striving to improve and get better, and that constant never-ending improvement. But I think about even just this podcast. I'm thinking and dreaming about where I want to take it in 2025. We're a little bit past 9 months that this podcast has been around, and gosh, where would I like to take it? What guests would I love to have? How much would I like to grow it? What impact would I like to have for you all, my listeners, who I care so deeply about? And I can really get caught up in the metrics because there's a lot of really interesting metrics about who listens and how many people listen and how often and all of those vanity metrics, right? But I'm even taking a deep breath as I say this, but slowing down now as we almost approach 1 year being on air and really thinking about how far I've come, the amazing guests that I've had, the provocative topics that I've presented to you all, the feedback, the amazing feedback that I've been receiving, whether it's individually, one-on-one, or whether it's the comments and the ratings and reviews on the various platforms. It's pretty amazing. I'm really filled with gratitude. And, gosh, what would motivate me more to continue to do this? Is it focusing on, I'm not Joe Rogan yet. Is it focusing on that? Or is it focusing on, several guests that I'm working really hard to get that have been a little bit more challenging to get on the podcast? Or is it really reflecting on, the feedback that I've gotten from the listeners of, hey, you've really made me feel not alone, or you've given voice to something I always kind of was interested in learning more about, but didn't know where to turn, or always felt different. And gosh, I don't feel so different when you talk about some of these topics that I didn't hear in business school or formal education or from my financial advisor, all of those things. But of course, it's that feedback and really recognizing what we've gained this year as a podcast that's been so incredible. So I really hope you take the time yourself to have I don't know if you want to call it a gratitude practice or a reflection, whatever you're looking to do in 2025, but really making sure that you understand where you've come in 2024 as well. And, this doesn't have to just be a one-time thing. This doesn't have to be a once a year practice. But gosh, some people make quarterly goals. I am trying myself to implement what the book talks about, which is spending time actually daily, focusing on 3 great things at the end of the day that have happened. Whether they're things that have happened that may have brought me closer to my goals for the day, or just things that have gone right, really training our brain and making our brain recognize the things that are great opens us up to understanding and seeing future opportunities that we may otherwise miss. You've heard me talk about the reticular activating system, but as a reminder, our brain can only take in so much information. So if you imagine and you look around just wherever you are, if you're driving, don't do this, but everyone else, look around. There's a lot that you are unconsciously, that your brain is unconsciously noticing that it cannot bring to your consciousness because it's too much, it's overwhelming. So we have a filter that our brain has in terms of what our brain takes in and allows us to consciously be aware of, which means there's a whole bunch of stuff that's going on that we don't even notice consciously. And the great news is, maybe that's scary. It kind of freaks me out when I talk about it. I'm not going to lie. That is kind of a freaky thing. But the great news is we have so much control over our ability to train our brain and train this reticular activating system to notice what we want it to notice. Whether if we're consuming news all the time that's doom and gloom and making us all feel terrified of, avian flu and the next COVID, whatever, or, the new presidency or whatever it is. Yeah, we can spend a whole lot of time focusing on the disasters that may or may not actually come to be around us. I'm not saying the election, I'm just, politics can be controversial. Health stuff can be scary. Or we can spend a whole lot of time focusing on the great things that have gone in our favor and the wonderful things that even on a day-to-day basis that serve us and really are tiny miracles, like having enough food to eat on a day-to-day basis when throughout most of human history, most humans haven't had enough food, or the shelter that we have from weather. Obviously, it's not always perfect, but most of us are sheltered from extremes of weather. Again, something that most humans haven't been able to enjoy throughout human history. So again, marrying this topic of, not just focusing on goals. Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with setting goals. I certainly do them, and I would encourage you to do them too, but really appreciating what's gone in our favor as well.
Have you ever thought about having multiple streams of income? Instead of relying on just one stream of income where you're trading your time for money, how would you like to free up more of your time and live a more abundant life? As a listener of the show, you're invited to attend one of our upcoming trainings where I'll give you an inside look into how you can add passive income and get all the other perks of recession-resistant real estate investing without the headaches of being a landlord. We'll also be sharing some hidden mistakes to avoid and the criteria I personally look for when evaluating potential investment opportunities. To reserve your seat for free, go to sylviscapital.com/webinar. Again, that special link to reserve your seat for free is sylviscapital.com/webinar. I look forward to seeing you on the training. And now back to the show.
Okay, so on that note too, I actually have a few podcast ideas that I've got brewing for 2025. But as we set our goals, because they are still incredibly important to do, are you setting goals that are aligned with your values, or are you setting goals that society tells you you should have? We'll dive a little bit deeper into this, but I have been stunned by the number of people just over the past couple weeks that I've spoken to that have told me they've spent basically their entire life savings outside of their retirement account to put a down payment on a house. And they don't have a lot of extra money, not just for emergencies, but to invest. And so 2 of these people I talked to are actually on the verge of being laid off. And so they have very little money to fall back on. They're basically shackled to a W-2 to pay their expenses because they've got this intense mortgage. They put money, we talked about trapped equity. They put a bunch of money in the home. There's nothing wrong with that. But the conversations I've had with some of these folks are, well, what's your goal? Is your goal to have to work to pay your bills? Or is your goal to have money work for you and have money create a lifestyle that's less stress or less worry or with more time freedom? So buying a house in and of itself isn't a bad thing. But again, going back to, are you setting the goals that society is telling you to set? Or are you setting goals that work for you? For some people, renting a home and using that money that they would have used for a down payment to generate hands-off income. I'm biased because I do real estate, but you could do dividends. You could do coupons from bonds. There are all private lending. There are all sorts of things, right? Residuals. There's a lot that can be done to generate hands-off income to mitigate, maybe not initially replace your income from your W-2, but mitigate and have income coming in if, God forbid, you get laid off from your job. Are the goals that you're setting, whether they're health, whether they're spiritual, whether they're relationship, whether they're your career, money, please take a moment and reflect on what really serves you rather than what people tell you. We're all on social media, myself included. It is wild what we're being told we should strive for that may not serve us and may end up keeping us in this hamster wheel where we're basically a slave to our expenses and our mortgage and have to sacrifice a whole bunch of our time and energy and worry and talent to trade our time for money to pay those expenses. Again, if that's okay with you, I truly am not trying to put you down or telling you that you shouldn't, but many folks who listen to this podcast are not interested in doing what everybody else does just for the sake of, just because people have told them. It is an unexamined life. And this is just such a powerful time to make sure that the goals you are setting for yourself, that you're measuring your success against, really resonate with you and get you where you want to go. And then, of course, you're not just obsessing over the fact that you haven't gotten where you want to be. but you have achieved some success in measuring that gain. One last example I'll give you is, you can probably tell, I'm really passionate about exposing people to real estate investing. There's so much misconception around investing, whether it's people thinking that the only thing they can afford to invest in is a single family home, or whether it's people thinking that a real estate investment trust, which is really just a stock, is the same thing as real estate investing, or whether it's the lies that Wall Street tells people that they can only use retirement accounts to invest in stocks, bonds, and mutual funds. I do everything I can on LinkedIn, on Twitter, on this podcast to really dispel these myths, because I think we're stronger as individuals and as a country when Wall Street doesn't have a stranglehold on our wealth as individuals. And yes, I can be frustrated that the word isn't getting out as fast as I want, or I can focus on the hundreds and hundreds of investors that we have invested alongside of us to purchase nearly 1,000 apartment units this year. And we're helping them generate hands-off income outside of their W-2. We're giving them more security because they have diversification. And we are helping them get closer to creating a legacy for their family, their children, their grandchildren, and really make an impact on their family's generational wealth. Which one is more inspiring? Is it the frustration, really thinking and obsessing about the gap of the millions of people I haven't been able to educate and serve, but that I cannot wait to get out and tap on the shoulder and say, hey, this is something you haven't learned in school. This is something that the media isn't telling you, or your family may not have either. Let me help educate you. Or is it focusing on the great feedback we get from our investors and the excitement that we have helping them get to these wealth and these financial independence goals? So I am holding that gratitude. I am holding the gain part of the gap and the gain as I set my 2025 goals and beyond. And I hope as you're doing some reflection this time of year and setting goals, that you also do the same and really lead with gratitude, whether it's once a year where you're assessing your past year, whether it's quarterly, if you're setting quarterly goals, or even daily, as the great authors of The Gap and the Gain talk about. At the end of the day, just talking about 3 things that have gone well for you. If you haven't read the book, pick it up. Again, it's called The Gap and the Gain. It's by Dan Sullivan and Dr. Benjamin Hardy. I cannot recommend it enough. And hey, Happy New Year. I know this episode comes out right before the new year. So wishing you and yours a wonderful 2025. Thank you for being an incredible part of the Secrets to Abundant Living community. Would ask for one final gesture this year. If you have enjoyed this podcast, please take a moment to share it with one person in your network. We continue to grow, and the only way we can continue to grow is through you all sharing. Of course, if you haven't left a review on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, we'd be very grateful for 5 stars there as well. I am so excited to continue to serve you all into 2025 and beyond. We have a lot of great topics and guests that are, going to contribute to your abundance journey tremendously. I'm so thankful for you all. Thank you for making this podcast great. And we will talk to you in the new year. Bye for now, everyone.
Thank you for joining us on another episode of the Secrets to Abundant Living podcast. We hope you found inspiration and valuable insights that will empower you on your journey towards abundance. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to subscribe, rate, and leave a review. Your feedback means the world to us, and it helps others discover the secrets to an abundant life too. Stay connected with us on LinkedIn, Amy Sylvis. Keep striving for your goals, nurturing your relationships, and embracing the adventure that is life. Until next time, we wish you an abundantly fulfilling day.